Just in case I'm doing the moosehead again. Welcome to Time Zones and Time Meters with me, Simon, and my colleague Josh. And today we're doing a special about Katatonia, or about their not the latest album, but the one that came before that. That is Sky Void of Stars. This came out in 2023, one of my favorite albums from that year. We got Jonas Renkse on lead vocals, and we got Anders Nyström on guitars, Roger Örjesson also on guitars, Niklas Sandin on bass, and Daniel Moilanen on drums. Although rumor says that Anders Nyström is not really playing on this album because he departed from the band after this. I'm not balls deep into Katatonia. Josh, do you know exactly what the case is here?
No, I know there's a few rumors about it, but I was pretty sure he still was a part of this one. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the legitimacy of the sort of rumors that were sort of spiraling around the internet, if that makes sense. But
Right.
but yeah, I'm so glad you introduced their names because there's no way I could have done it European justice. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I starting to understand that some people think that these are actually difficult names to pronounce or remember or whatever. And this is like Jack Smith or whatever in Swedish. It's well, except for the drummer who has a Finnish last name. It's all like Tom, Dick, and Harry.
That's so funny. For me, it's yeah. I would have just bastardized it everybody's name. So, thank you.
But this is the case when we do something Riverside, and I'm like, holy crap, this is only
Polish, yeah.
talking K, C, and F after each other, But yeah, they're Polish for people that don't listen to them. All right, so do you want to go through this album track for track?
Yeah, let's do it that way. I think it's a great idea. Keeps it organized, right? And you and I are both chaotic at the best of times, so the more organization, the better.
What's your relationship with Katatonia, by the way?
So Katatonia are a band that I was told that I would love, and then I listened to a little bit of them, and then I kind of just parked them to the side. And I think the big one that stood out to me was, when would have that been? Let me have a very quick look. I know it was The Great Cold Distance.
Like an album from.
What was that?
You did recommend me an album, Deadfall Hearts, with our very first episode.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm a big fan of this band. My first experience of them was The Great Cold Distance. I'm just trying to look out when that came out, because I think it was, yeah, so I think I probably first heard them in about 2007, about a year after that was released. And I remember falling in love with the songs Leaders, Deliberation, and My Twin specifically, which was their sort of big banger. I think they got quite a lot of sort of rotations in people's music kind of things, because it's a much loved song. But yeah, so that was my first experience, but I didn't pick them back up again until like much later. And then when I did, I sort of fell in love with the Fall of Hearts, and the Fall of Hearts is one of my favorite albums of all time. So since then, I've sort of been exploring on and off their stuff. And when this came out, I was very excited to check it out, and it didn't disappoint. Although it was a little bit different to what I was, my favorite stuff was. It was a little bit more progressive, a little bit maybe louder. A little bit more heavy, and I really dug that. I thought that was cool. I thought it was a bit of a return to, the past in some ways, but they still kept it proggy, right? So, anyway, what do you think? What's your experience with them?
So my thing was that this is a band that I have not paid that much attention to, because I always figured Katatonia, that's not really for me. That is like not. Like the exuberant or like virtuoso stuff that challenges you. I thought like Katatonia is more the stuff where you sit in a corner and you slit your wrists and you're an angry teenager, like that category of, of band that this is. And then I was watching the Prague Report. I think that they were like checking out new songs and then Austerity, so the second single from this album, they listened to, and I was like, holy crap, this is a syncopated, super complicated syncopated groove, and there's a mellotron in there, and I was like, holy fuck, this is prog, man. I had no idea. And this is also the opener. I love this track, and I think that there are some people that maybe like the older fans do not really appreciate this vibe that this opening track has, but it did open my eyes to this band, and yeah, I think it's a super cool beginning. It's just bam, starts, and there's no strings leading up to a mystic intro or anything. It's just bam, here's the verse.
It punches you pretty quickly, doesn't it? Just straight away.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a good thing to point out is that these guys are like, masters of kind of that melancholy dark sound. They've kind of got a quiet vocalist, and the music tends to be these sort of foreboding dark sort of soundscapes, which they're sort of known for. And this album definitely goes back to their past, I think, a little bit with the heavier sort of stuff. So the first track we should probably start with, Austerity, for me was just a home run. Like as soon as I pressed play on this album and it started off, I had heard the single when it was released, of course, too, but I was just so glad it started like that as well. I thought it was strong, it was punchy. I loved the different changes in tempo and the sound of it as well. It's probably one of my favorite songs in the whole album, actually.
Yeah, totally. And then it rings out, and then to me comes the banger of this album, like the peak, Colossal Shade, right? And I remember having my headphones on, walking the dog, and this song came on, and I was like, shit, it doesn't get better than this, it's so it's very menacing, right? But it has an upbeat tempo. It's not overly complicated in any way, but it just has a groove. You start marching. It really has like this marching tempo, and I could not walk normally. I marched with the dog.
Look, I think on my first listen, I quite like Colossal Shade to start with. Like I thought it was good as well. There are some songs in this album that didn't grab me straight away, and the first two tracks really did. I think Colossal Shade's easy. It's not quite as complex as some of the other stuff that's on here, and like you said, it's got that dark, so from just the opening of it, right? And so I really like that. I love that sound, for sure. So it's definitely good, and it's also one of those ones where, how can I put it? If somebody says Austerity to me, I go, oh, which one's that? Again, I get positive vibes because I know Austerity's a good song, but I need to think about it. Yeah. Then I can hum it and I got the tune, I'm good to go. But Colossal Shade, straight away I go, oh yeah, like I can recall that. Yeah, that's right. And I think because of the name of it, right, being in the chorus and stuff makes it easy to remember. So
you know what? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No. What were we going to say?
With the lyrics, like engineer of the Colossal Shade, you know what I get in my head? There's a Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns builds like this huge, like a dish.
Yeah. To block out the sun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I get. Like we're the evil guys who are the corporate guys who gonna block out the sun of this.
I wonder if that's what they were doing.
Evil.
Yeah, I wonder if that's exactly what they were trying to sort of aim for, you know. They watched that
Yeah.
episode and they're like, we need to do a song about this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but look, it's a good track, right? It's a good track. We both
yeah.
agree with that. So after that we go to Opaline,
Yeah.
and it's got
Mellows out a
this.
little bit.
Yeah, it really does. And it has that really interesting beginning to it, right? Where you're kind of like, ooh, what's happening here? And so
Yeah.
for me, this was one of the tracks that took a while to get. I really loved the opening, but then the rest of the song I was a little bit like nonchalant about at first. But once I got into it, it was good. And also I saw them play live last year, I think it was 2024. They came to Australia and they did this number, and I was like, it was great. It was really, really good. So
Yeah, I mean, it has a very significant like keyboard hook that has, I mean, a horn sounding hook that is significant of this song.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice. I think. Oh look, you're getting hot. The clothes are coming off.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But no, I thought it was. Look, this is a sleeper for me, and it wasn't until I'd really gotten into the album that I went, oh, this is one of the. It's a good track.
Sure, sure. Then comes the, I guess, most upbeat song of the album, Birds. Um, it has a very like simple lead guitar hook that is. I think this track sounds a lot like Evergrey. It was, or maybe like it's a little bit like newer In Flames, maybe. I don't know. It does sound a little bit commercial to me, this song, where I'm thinking like, is I did have a little bit of a hard time with this in the beginning, but I learned to appreciate it.
See,
Um,
this pace I love. I love it when Katatonia does like songs with this kind of pacing as well. And although they're very good at this sort of melancholy stuff, I love it when they throw some energy into a track. And I like the way that it goes from this, you know, dark Colossal Shade to the Opaline, which is sort of funky and sort of, you know, it's a little bit different. And then you sort of all of a sudden it's like bang, the energy hits back in again too. So it reminds me a little bit of, do you know a song called Evidence?
nope.
Nope, it's from one of their earlier albums. You should definitely check that track out. It's not overly complicated, but I think it's a real banger. And this one to me just gets me sort of nodding my head and sort of it just inserts some energy into the album, which I really appreciate and love. So I think Birds is good, and it's on many of my playlists when I want some sort of metal energy, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the pacing of these first songs are very good. Like, you know, it provides some mixing it up. You don't get as bored. No, but I was sure for a while that Tom Englund was involved in this from Evergrey, but I guess he wasn't. It just sounds very much like Evergrey. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're more of an Evergrey fan than me, so I'd need to probably hear more of their stuff. But Viva Emptiness, which was I don't know what album that one was, but it has two songs in it, Evidence and Omerta. I think that's how it's pronounced, which I absolutely love and adore. And so both of those songs have that, you know, look, they're very different to Birds for sure, but I appreciate what they bring to the album, which it does in those other ones as well. Um,
uh,
yeah. So what's next on the list after Birds?
then is track number 5, Drab Moon.
Yeah, yeah. What do you reckon of it?
Well, I think it's a pretty cool track. Maybe not like in the talk about how the verses or riffs or whatever are constructed, but they do a lot sonically on this track. There's like guitar reverbs that just, you know, fade out and you know, pans from left to right. You know, it's a little bit. I wouldn't say space rock, but you know, they use a lot of they
They
you know
definitely use echo a lot, don't they? And there's
sorry?
definitely a lot of echo in it. and
Yeah.
they're sort of playing with those kinds of sounds. And I also love the drumming in this. Like it's got this like thing that goes on throughout it, but it's got this like slow, like you're explaining basically. I quite like it. It builds a lot of sort of ambience, through that. But again, this was another one. So Opaline and Drab Moon took me ages to appreciate for what they are. But again, it's probably one of the highlights of the album to me. So I don't know. I've said that a few times, but in saying that, to me, it's one of the coolest things about this album is the stuff that I liked immediately. I still love. I think is great, but the stuff that just took some time, there was a sort of subtlety and a nuance to it that I sort of fell in love with, and I think that's the way that I'm approaching this new album too.
And that's of course, a smart way to construct an album, right? That you have the immediate killers you put first, and then the growers comes later, and that's really how it was with this album. Like this, to be honest, I still prefer the opening tracks, but the rest is coming closer and closer to my preference here. That said, I don't know if I am up to that point with Author, track number 6 yet. This is like where I start feeling like, does this track really contribute anything extra to the previous songs? Like, does it do anything that the previous doesn't? It has a unique selling point, I think, because I love when they put the title of an album in the lyrics, or the other way around, I guess, that they put a part of the lyrics as the album title instead of putting the title of a track as the album title.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So they say "sky void of stars," like in their sort of chorus. I wish they'd called that. That's what I've written down. I wish they called this track "Sky Void of Stars," like because that's the way that I remember it. I loved it. I thought it was great straight away. And to me, this is the title track. Like,
yeah, as close as can be.
Yeah, and so I've always seen it that way as well. And I quite liked this one. I think this was a little bit along the lines of like Austerity as well, with the, maybe it's because they both start with A. I don't know, AU actually, but I always see them similarly, and I'd sort of rate both the songs. They're kind of good. There's sort of a cool pacing to them. I like that they're standalone tracks that are quite strong as well, and give you a good representation of what to expect, like within the album as well.
Yeah. All right. Track number 7, Impermanence. We love Joel Ekelev, don't we?
Yeah, he's good. I don't know if he makes it better. But I love him. Like, I love the fact that he's in it. And I know that the Soen fans, Team Soen, who are out there, that those guys absolutely were sort of gushing once they found out that he was going to be in a Katatonia thing. And then there was quite a few of them who got upset because he's not mentioned. So, when an artist writes like the title of a track and then they'll put in brackets who the supporting artists are or whoever helped them, if they're not from the band normally, they were upset that he wasn't named. But me, I think it's pedantic. He probably, because
they have to work that out themselves.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And to be honest, I of course love when you listen to a record and then you all of a sudden hear, oh wait, this is him. That it's a surprise. So it was a pleasant surprise. I mean, I can totally see the argument that, like, what does he really contribute here? Because they're not that different in singing styles. You can hear you will pronounces the words a little bit
different.
Yeah, contradiction. It's something with the way that he sings it that Jonas does not. But in general, yeah, they have the same approach on this track.
Yeah,
Um,
look, I was hoping for a little bit more of a harmony, to tell you the truth.
yeah,
I thought they could have done a cool layered harmony or something there as well, but the
maybe they tried
song,
and it didn't work out because they're
and
too similar.
also, and yeah, and maybe also because the song wasn't originally built for him, and they got him in and he sung it, and it was complimentary, and it was really cool. And I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong; it's a good track too.
Yeah,
It makes me ask questions like why
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
how, and I think to myself, what do I
Maybe it's not
love?
that deep.
Yeah, and and what does it have to be? Neither. Like no. so
I mean,
so
it's very possible that it was like, hey, you're in town, do you want to sing on this track, and it's going to be good for both bands? Yeah, sure. And
yeah,
then
that's right.
that's just how it was, and that's my guess, to be honest. But
It could have been. He
I
was
still
just
think it's
like,
a
"Can
fun
I stop
surprise.
by?" Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think
I have to mention the guitar solo here is beautiful.
top
Perfect
notch.
use of the wah-wah pedal. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I thought that was it's probably the highlight outside of the guest vocals, right? So it's a beautiful song too. Like it's touching. It's a bit of soul stirring sort of lyricism and stuff behind it too. So it's good. I like it.
no big guess, pretty depressing stuff, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so after this, uh, Sclera, is that how you pronounce it?
I think so.
Yeah. I think this is the weakest track of the album.
So do I. So do
Okay.
I. Look,
Um,
again, like it's the song that I skip, I think. Like I'm having a
yeah.
look at all of my plays, and for some reason it's right down the bottom, where everything else I've listened to more than like 20 times. This is like 15. So I've obviously skipped it a bit, or I just it didn't quite click for me.
Yeah.
It's again, it's fine, but I also wonder maybe I just need to give it a little bit more time as well. But no, this I thought was a weaker track too. How would you
Yeah.
describe it?
It has that jazzy kind of drum groove, like uh, the way he hit his drum is not jazzy in any way, but the groove itself is pretty jazzy regarding the drums. But no, there's not too much that stand out on this track. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a clean hook that makes me go, "Oh, that's that song."
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
But in no way bad. It's just that it doesn't contribute anything extra, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then you have a pretty strong song.
This was the first track they released as a single, I think, like in preparation for releasing this album, if I remember. So I played it to death before the album was
Oh yeah,
released.
okay.
So by the time I got to the album release date, I was like over it. Well, maybe not over it, but definitely well and truly into it.
And it's legit. It has a very strong chorus. Well,
It's
one of the
very
strongest.
catchy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and yeah, I could maybe ask for a bit more complexities, or these are.
I've just lost you. Can you hear me?
And
Can you hear
uh,
me?
yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, I just lost you for a second there. That's all right.
Oh, sorry.
Continue.
Yeah, so this far down the album, I'm starting to miss a little bit more, more instrumental complexities, or give me more guitar solos or something. Because, um, but I mean, yes, as a single, this is a perfect track.
Yeah.
As this late in the album, I prefer a band to expand a little bit on the music, so to speak.
Yeah, it's kind of like you like show off the muscles a little bit. Like this is your
Yeah,
opportunity. Everyone's warm. We're into we're into it, and then it's like let's do something here. So I know what you mean. I probably think it's placed incorrectly. Like I was just having a quick look at the list of where it's put, and I think this would be much better, sort of higher up in the
yeah, probably.
listing. Like I probably would
Yeah,
have put Atrium earlier on, and maybe pulled Birds a little bit later. so that there's space between those two high tempoed songs, maybe. But and
You can
maybe that's
switch
maybe.
place with birds.
Hmm. But
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like even still, it makes sense that there's a bit of space between them too, I guess. But I just yeah. So anyway, like look, it's a good single. I think a good single for sure.
By the way, regarding birds, there are some numbers there. I believe those are like the coordinates to somewhere.
I know what you're talking about, like the 3, 2, 1
Yeah,
or whatever he
yeah.
says. But I can't. I have no idea. I can't believe
I
I've
believe
never
it
thought
was
of that.
like that. It is somewhere in Stockholm. Those coordinates will get you. So in relation to one of the band members, probably Jonas, uh,
Oh, dude, I'm gonna have to look that up
or
later. That's cool.
studio or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I believe I read that somewhere. Yeah.
I will definitely look that up. That's interesting. I'm having a look at how many plays I've got of Atrium as well, and I've got over 120 plays of this track recorded.
Then you then you're
So,
familiar with that track.
but I was just about to say the next one in line is Birds at like just under 60.
Ah,
So
yeah.
I've killed this song. Um, so
Like too
maybe
much.
I'm not as high on it as I should be, because if I rewind to as many plays as I've had of Colossal Shade, I'd probably still be in love, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's that too. Anyway,
Right.
the next one after that is No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall.
Yeah. Short little name.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds like a
and
post-rock anthem.
yeah, a little bit. This is this one kind of you know does what I miss a little bit. Like this is the longest track of the album. That said, it's still just a little over 6 minutes.
Mm.
But it gives them at least a little room, like at least like a minute to space out a little bit.
Yeah,
To
it's got some breathing room for sure. Yeah, that sort of ambience that I really love.
yes, me too, me too. I wish they would have made it into 3 or 4 minutes, and really prog out. Um,
I quite like
but
the chorus hook for this as well. Like I quite like the that in it. Um, yeah, I need to put this on a different playlist or two as well.
yeah,
But you're right.
no,
I actually agree.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate this as well. I,
Um,
I, I just have constantly this feeling with Katatonia, like I wish they would do more with the instrumentals, you know? Um,
you're such a prog head.
yeah, I guess that's it. I guess that's it. I mean, I really, I really like this. Like I said, it is one of my favorite albums of that year. Colossal Shade is still in my top 50 songs of the last 12 months. So I mean, I'm still listening to this album.
Hmm.
Um, but like the reason why I'm not deeper into Catatonia is because they don't, you know, stay. They don't let their songs breathe quite as much as a prog, like a pure prog band would.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's me. That's of course not everyone's opinion.
No, that's right. But in saying that, I think you and I have been very, very similar for once.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we've
sure.
been really, really similar in terms of our thoughts on basically the whole album, except for the last bonus track, which we haven't got to yet. But um, but the I kind of know what you mean. I like the fact that it's a little not simple is the wrong word, but I kind of like that in that it's not overtaken by technicality. You know, I like the pureness that this seems to have, and just the fact that they've kind of got just a great track there. But I do know what you mean, and I think when they're at their best, they have their proggier elements kind of in there, but it's not as noticeable. And I get what you mean. Like if they're a bit heavier handed, then it's probably right up the, sort of the my metal jam, for what it's worth. But yeah. What do you think of Absconder?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice track. Um, I can see maybe why they left it out. I think this kind of music is good with 45 minutes. That this album didn't have to be 50 minutes. Um, but yeah, this album has a groovy instrumental section halfway in that I appreciate. And it could easily fit on this. I mean, maybe it could take in the place of Sclera. Maybe that would not have been a bad choice. But I could totally think that this album benefits from being 45 minutes rather than 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I didn't even know this track existed for ages. Like, I'm not sure how I missed it, but I definitely did. And so I've listened to this, about the same amount of times as sort of Sclera, however that's pronounced. And
No idea.
for me, though, I think it is stronger than that track. So it was kind of fun to listen to it and go, hold on, what am I listening to? Like, if I just put the album on in the background, and when I get to this one, I go, hold on, I'm less familiar with it, but quite enjoy it. So I think it's got its place. I think you're right in that for me, 45 minutes is a sweet spot with album lengths because I tend to only ever listen to about 45 minutes of anything. Like, I don't tend to sit down for particularly long periods of time listening to music, and so if I'm on my sort of daily commute, 45 minutes is about how long it takes. So that tends to be what I end up listening to. So once albums start to go beyond that, I usually miss the last few tracks too. So yeah, so I don't know, look, I guess we should wrap up what our thoughts are on the whole album, shouldn't we? I think it's strong. I think it's one of my favorites of 2024 as well. 2024, 2023?
23.
Three, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was definitely one of the stronger ones for that year. I remember talking about it with a lot of people. Some people just didn't like it. Some people loved it. It had very sort of mixed reviews, I think. But on the whole, I think most people agreed that it was one of their better ones. Quite a few people didn't like City Burials. They thought it was a little bit lackluster. But then you can't escape critics, can you? You just can't. It's like everyone's going to have a problem with it.
I mean, it's a band that existed for over 30 years.
Who
Um,
have
and
evolved. And they've evolved significantly, right?
yeah, well, I mean, either way, they would have fans that wouldn't like it. I mean, either because they evolved into something else or because they didn't evolve. So, I mean, you cannot escape that if you're active for that long. And that's why I'm also thinking it's such a big deal that like the other main guy is quitting
Yeah.
after 30 years. And that's been kind of interesting to follow a little bit because this Anders is then he gets to post his thoughts on the Katatonia platform, but they are breaking up, and so you get both. Like, I guess they're on friendly terms, but they absolutely do not agree with each other, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of like they're professional. They're being professional, but they absolutely do not completely see eye to eye. I understand. So that's kind of an interesting thing to follow, and I can imagine even more so if you follow them for, well, even at least several years, or even more for someone who's been
Like
following for
decades.
30
That's
years.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think you're sort of right there too. I mean, from what I was told, it was conflicting thoughts about the trajectory of where they're traveling and where they want to
Yeah.
go. And to me, I like that. Since the Fall of Hearts, Dead Eight Kings, The Great Cold Distance, these are all fantastic albums as far as I'm concerned. And I also am a big fan of Viva Emptiness as well. But these. And Nightmares as extensions, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, another time in more detail too. Like these
And
are,
we talked about last episode.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right, we did too. But this is a clear trajectory, which is very much around like that atmospheric melancholy, sort of well polished sort of product that they've kind of got, and they're doing like extra work into that realm as opposed to the heavier doom and gloom, death kind of vibes of their earlier stuff, which was a little bit more aggressive, right? So I don't know. It's interesting to look at the trajectory of the band, and this one was technical. This one was progressive. This one was look had their stereotypical sort of soundscapes as well, which to me ticks all the boxes. It's interesting music. It's cool music. It's fun music. It's sad music, and everything in between. So I give this a pretty high rating.
Oh yes, sir. Yeah, me too, me too. And I'm very, very slowly checking out their previous stuff. But I had a prediction that I will not have completed their discography the, until 2035 or something, because I'm just not in the mood often enough to listen to this. But when I am, this is super stuff. I think it's a super cool album. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that. This actually features for me in, like, I can nearly always chuck this kind of music on in the background. Maybe I'm a tortured soul or something at heart, but for me, I'm pretty good when it comes to the sort of these sounds, as opposed to something that's more aggressive, or again something that's more technical or crazy or fun or whatever it is. I find this easier to chuck on, so that's probably why it's got so many plays for me in the last, like 4 years or something. I think then my number one played artist. So it's interesting, and that's probably just because I find it easy to chuck it on. But yeah, look, thanks so much, Simon, for your time today. Thanks everyone for tuning in as well. We're super interested to know what your thoughts are out there in the world. And so if you guys would like, follow, comment, subscribe, do all of those things, that would be great. And you can, of course, find Simon and I on Instagram, and we're always up for a chat when it comes to music. So yeah, please reach out to us. Please reach out to us. Otherwise, what have we got up next week? Have we organised what we're doing next week?
Did we? Does anyone have a request? Yeah, well, it will be no problem figuring something out. Yeah, no.
That should be fun, actually. I do have a few people who are wanting us to talk about a few things, so I might actually hit them up and see what they come up with as well. But
Yeah.
look, I've got so much stuff that I'm listening to at the moment anyway. I could probably fill like 4 or 5 of these sessions, so I'm excited to meet back up with you and have a chat to you about other things anyway. So maybe it'll be more freeform. Who knows? But anyway. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and I guess we'll catch you guys soon. Peace out.
Yeah.